We should be live, and here we go. This is where we got to put ourselves out on the line there, because we have had pretty much every important player from a Dynasty fantasy football standpoint selected in the NFL draft. I mean, we're already 100 picks through. I mean, if you go into our Dynasty rookie draft guide, if you go through and do really any of your own research, you're going to see that the hit rate for a player that goes outside the top 100 draft picks, very, very slim. So we should know how these players are valued. And I have to come out here and I have to try my best to figure this out, because I am, as we stand here, in 10 Dynasty rookie drafts, slow drafts, all that have 8-hour timers. I've already made some of my own Dynasty rookie picks in my real Dynasty leagues. And at the same time, I am going to be, finally finishing our Dynasty research book. I'm sorry, I've already finished the Dynasty research book. I'm all over the place. Our Dynasty rookie draft guide. We've been working on it for God knows how long now, months, but now we have the landing spots to go through and add in. I know that everybody who's already pre-ordered the book on flockfantasy.com, I told you were going to get it by May 5th. Don't worry. May 5th is the latest that book will be completed. I am pretty sure I'm going to be able to get it done by May 2nd or May 3rd. I just have to make sure that everything's edited and it's in an easy to digest format. We are going to have over 100 pages in our Dynasty rookie draft guide, just filled with way too many charts, way too many tables, way too much historical data, and maybe not enough film takes, but please excuse me for that. And of course, if you want to go get yourself a copy of our Dynasty rookie draft guide, you can do that on flockfantasy.com. And because y'all have done an unbelievable job supporting this channel through the NFL draft and really all offseason, we're going to throw a coupon code your way. If you use the code NFL draft, you are also going to get a discount at checkout. So please, flockfantasy.com. You can find the link in the description of this video. Use the promo code NFL draft for that discount. But I think that should be it. Let's go through and let's fire up this draft. I know I am all over the place. I am bumbling like an idiot, but I apologize. We were working until like 3 a.m. last night on that Dynasty rookie draft guide, and I'm going to be working probably even longer on it today. But Breece Hall goes to the 101. I know some people are worried about the landing spot for Breece Hall. Please don't be. He is going to be the immediate 3-down bell cow running back. I am not worried about Michael Carter Jr. having a large enough role for it to matter. Maybe Breece Hall isn't Christian McCaffrey. Maybe he's not Ezekiel Elliott. Maybe he's not going to get 95% of the touches in his backfield, but he is still, in my opinion, easily going to get 75%. And from a 2022 standpoint, that is a bell cow running back. That's what you're looking for. And with the New York Jets, I don't love the offense overall. I'm not a massive fan of Zach Wilson, but what I am a fan of is what they did in this year's NFL draft. I mean, if you just go down the line and you look at pretty much every draft pick from the New York Jets, they have killed it. They have made this a significantly better roster, where I think we can be more excited about the landing spot with the Jets than we would have been otherwise. Now, you have Drake London, Treylon Burks going at the 103 and the 104. And yes, I will mention, before we make our selection here, we have the easiest pick on the planet. But with Treylon Burks, I've heard some people, a part of the flock over there on Locals, telling me that Treylon Burks now needs to be the 101. I have no idea what you were smoking. I get it. Yes, I 100% understand that Treylon Burks has the best landing spot out of the top 3 wide receivers in this draft class. If we're talking about round 1 options in general, Treylon Burks had the best landing spot, and it wasn't close. But to be talking about taking him over Breece Hall, you're going way too far with it, with the profile that Breece Hall has. Now, I've personally actually gone through and followed what Zach did earlier, and I've taken Drake London over Treylon Burks. I know most people are going to disagree with that, but if you go and read our Dynasty rookie draft guide, I'm sure you'll see that wide receiver prospect model and how accurate it has been. And it grades out both Drake London and Garrett Wilson as truly elite level prospects, where Treylon Burks is still great in his own right. His best comparable rookie, according to our model, is actually A.J. Brown, which of course you're very excited about. It's funny because he's going to the Tennessee Titans to fill the A.J. Brown role. But I'm going to ignore the landing spot. It's tough to make this argument because Tennessee looks so appealing. I'm going Treylon Burks. and Garrett Wilson over Drake London. I think that you have a clear drop-off after the first 5 rookies in this year's draft. We'll probably have a video coming out soon where these tier drops are. But please, if you're sitting here at the 106, the 107, the 108, and your rookie draft is a week from now, do everything you can to try to trade up to get to this 105 pick, because even though Sky Moore, Christian Watson obviously get the best landing spots in this draft, I mean, still, in my opinion, Garrett Wilson is just in a tier above those players despite going to the New York Jets. Okay, so Kenny Pickett at the 106. Pickett's interesting at the 106. I took him there yesterday in yesterday's mock. I think you can make an argument after you have Garrett Wilson off the board for about 5 different players here. I think it's a very flat tier between Kenny Pickett, Sky Moore, Christian Watson, Jameson Williams, and Chris Olave in a real money dynasty rookie draft that I had. I mean, those got kicked off. I probably made the pick at like 2 a.m. last night, but I actually ended up taking Chris Olave over Kenny Pickett. That was a best ball dynasty league, so it was a little bit different. We were looking for those wide receivers that have the potential to have the elite spike weeks, but I think you can almost go any direction. You have Chris Olave here falling like a rock, however. Chris Olave making it to the 111. If you were drafting at the 111 and you get Chris Olave, you need to be jumping up and down with joy. That is very rarely going to happen, and I need to fix this board real quick. I don't know why Sleeper always does this, but let's make this a regular rookie draft so I don't get the haters in the comments just going crazy. Okay, so let's resume this draft back here at the 112. And real quick, if you have not dropped a like on the video, fix your life. Drop that like for us. Zach says, love the Watson pick. Yeah, Christian Watson at the 108. He does have the best landing spot. I mean, he's competing for targets with both Sammy Watkins as well as Allen Lazard. And I've said it a million times before, but you'll also look at it in our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, flockfantasy.com, link in the description. But with Christian Watson, this is a wide receiver that only has that one red flag that he stayed all 4 years at North Dakota State, but we're willing to overlook it. And we're only willing to overlook it with him for this reason, because that COVID 2020 season. Don't give me that excuse with Olave. Don't give me that excuse with James Cook. Don't give me that excuse with Zamir White. Those players that played at major schools in major conferences that had a somewhat regular season in 2020, they have no excuse for staying all 4 years. But with Christian Watson, he had to play spring ball as a junior. That's why you only had 1 season of Trey Lance starting in college before he went to the NFL. So I'm completely fine if you were going to be taking Christian Watson at the 108. I think he is a fantastic prospect. Obviously, a freak if you're talking about his size-adjusted athleticism, which doesn't matter nearly as much at wide receiver as we will prove in that Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. But Malik Willis goes at the 201. I'm honestly not drafting him here. There's still one player on the board that I am most likely going to be taking over Malik Willis. I would be surprised if I end up drafting Willis really at all. But before we dive into why I'm not drafting Willis, let's first discuss how bad of a pick, how horrendous of a pick Matt Corral there is at the 112. I can understand the thought process, you wanting to take a swing on Malik Willis's upside in the second round based on the Jalen Hurts dilemma. Remember, we were drafting Jalen Hurts everywhere. I bring this up all the time because it's one of our biggest flexes. We were drafting Jalen Hurts in pretty much every Dynasty Rookie Draft back in 2020 at the end of the second round, the beginning of the third, because that rushing upside. We acknowledged, yes, he was a day 2 NFL draft pick, so that means he's never really guaranteed to be a starter at the next level, but we said if he was a starter, we would be able to get to plug and play him from a fantasy football standpoint. So we decided to go through and draft Jalen Hurts everywhere we could because that rushing upside. Malik Willis has access to a similar profile. And I hate to do the draft this way. This is a player that I am probably not going to be drafting very often because I think he's going to slide a lot higher than this in rookie drafts. So please do not follow my lead. Do not make it a habit to go out of your way and draft James Cook here. With James Cook, a good pass catching running back, the best landing spot possible for a running back in this year's NFL draft, going to the Buffalo Bills. However, it's going to be so hard for him to overcome the lack of size that he has. Weighs less than 200 pounds, standing at 5'11 as well. I mean, if he weighed 199 and he was like DeAndre Swift, who was 5'8", so the BMI was okay, we would still not like the size. We would still call it a red flag, but we could get over ourselves. But with James Cook to be 5'11 and 199 pounds with a BMI of 27.8, and the most carries he ever saw at Georgia was 7.5 a season on a per game basis his senior year there. Now, of course, he split the backfield with Zamir White, but if you combine those two things, I do not expect James Cook to be a 3-down running back in Buffalo. I do not expect James Cook to be able to handle 15 to 20 touches for the Buffalo Bills. But if that was the expectation, James Cook would be going significantly higher than this. James Cook would be going in this tier of wide receivers, this little pocket here. But I think it's just because people a part of the flock are going to be a little bit smarter than most, so they know that these wide receivers like Sky Moore, Christian Watson, Jameson Williams, Sean Dotson, Chris Olave, and maybe even George Pickens, you easily have to be taking these players over James Cook, in my opinion. But if he's fallen to you at the 205, come on. He's a good pass-catching running back going to split the backfield with Devin Singletary in the best offense in the NFL. We will take James Cook here at the 205. Okay, so Zach says, what do you think of the Alec Pierce selection? Now, I still don't like Alec Pierce. I understand that the NFL draft is high on Pierce, but I mean, let me run over to our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, and I'll talk exactly why I don't like Pierce and how he grades out historically. Just all the boxes that are predictive for success at the next level for the wide receiver position, Alec Pierce really doesn't check. Now, yes, he gets the draft capital, but we have seen historically that draft capital matters a lot less at the wide receiver position than it's going to elsewhere. And if we are looking at Alec Pierce, the production just simply wasn't there at Cincinnati. Now, yeah, if you look at the raw totals, they're fine because Desmond Ridder led a very good Cincinnati offense this past season. But of course, you can't look at the raw totals. If you're looking at the raw totals, you're never going to get anywhere. Where you're going to get is you're going to be the guy drafting Kiki QT from Texas Tech because he played in a spread offense with Patrick Mahomes and racked up counting stats. You can't be drafting based off that. We have to be drafting off those percentages. And if we pull up Alec Pierce, I'm scrolling to find this, but this is a wide receiver that stayed all 4 years at Cincinnati. That is a massive red flag historically at the wide receiver position in particular. And when you stay all 4 years, what we need to see is we need to see you turn into someone like Devontae Smith. We need to see you have over 40% minimum of the receiving yards on a per game basis your senior season there, because you're 22 years old going up against some 18-year-old corner. You should be able to go out there and dominate that cornerback. Whereas Alec Pierce, he didn't do that. He had 26% of the receiving production there. I'm not a fan of Alec Pierce. Also, I hate to do this to Johnny. I hate this Thornton selection for the New England Patriots as well. Thornton is the perfect example of there being a massive discrepancy between a real life NFL value as well as Dynasty fantasy football value. Thornton, maybe he works out for the New England Patriots in that he has the speed. It was the slowest offense in the NFL. They needed someone to stretch the field. They needed someone to command safety attention, or they would have been able to just bring someone in and stack the box. But what Thornton is not going to do is he is not going to command volume. He is not going to be productive. He is just essentially a much, much, much worse version of John Ross. He's a much, much, much worse version of Henry Ruggs. And while those players can be somewhat productive from a fantasy football perspective sometimes, like if you get lucky and they turn into Brandon Cooks was a mega producer in college. Brandon Cooks broke out at 17 years old in college and declared and came into the league at 20. Like Brandon Cooks, if you go to our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, you're going to see that he was an elite level prospect. Thornton didn't have the production. I can't be taking Thornton over someone like Rachaad White. I can't be taking him over Isaiah Spiller. Okay, so now we are on the clock here. Let's go through Tolbert's off the board. We are getting caught with our pants down right now. I have not been able to look at this. I guess we probably just go with the running back that's going to get drafted on day 3. Let me scroll down to make sure we're not missing anybody. The fact that Rachaad White makes it to the 302, now that is a hell of a pick. I mean, I love seeing Rachaad White at the 302. This is a running back that checked a lot of boxes. The one issue that I had with Rachaad White is we didn't think that he would end up coming away with the draft capital. We thought Rachaad White would be a day 3 NFL draft pick based on pretty much any mock draft you would pull up on the planet. So if you looked at that massive red flag, it was hard to get over the concerns with Rachaad White. But now that he goes in the top 100 to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, I am very excited about him, especially if you were to have an injury to someone like Leonard Fournette. I do see Rachaad White. I hate saying this. I see him having top 15 upside on a per game basis at the running back position, particularly in a PPR format based on his receiving upside. You can make the argument Rachaad White is the best pass catching running back in this year's NFL draft. Getting him here at the 302, that is a massive value. I prefer Rachaad White over Isaiah Spiller. I prefer Rachaad White over Thornton. I prefer Rachaad White over Tolbert, over Justin Ross. I think you can make an argument for Rachaad White to go about 6 picks higher than he actually did in this draft. Okay. So David says my draft is on Sunday. Okay. So what is today? Please, everybody in the chat and the comment section right now, let me know when your draft is, because if everybody is drafting very soon, if everybody's drafting on, say, Monday or Tuesday, maybe I have to rush that Dynasty research book. Maybe I have to call the editor and say, you know what, we got to get this done tonight. We got to get this out, because we've had a lot of people pre-order that book, and I said it would be out by May 5th, but I'm doing my best to get it before then. Maybe I can get it out by May 1st. Okay, next Saturday, Monday, next Friday, May 14th, Sunday next weekend, May 21st. Okay, it looks like it's a little bit balanced. Next Saturday. Okay, so if we get it out May 2nd, May 3rd, it looks like most people should be fine. I'm going to do my best to try to get it out May 1st for y'all. I'll do my best to get it out May 1st. Okay, Woods going at the 309. Tyler Beatty going at the 307. Shakir at the 306. This is yet again another mock draft where I feel like a straight up fraud, where we've been talking about the running back position just being absolute buns in this year's draft. Remember, we were talking about avoiding Isaiah Spiller, avoiding Rachaad White, avoiding Brian Robinson, avoiding James Cook, avoiding Dameon Pierce, and instead going with the wide receivers over them. I mean, we were looking at keep trade cut. People were drafting these running backs ahead of John Mechie, drafting them ahead of David Bell, Justin Ross, Wan'Dale Robinson, Jalen Tolbert. And we were saying, you know, based on how bad of prospects these running backs are, we want to be taking these wide receivers over them. So I know it looks like I'm a fraud for saying that, and then all of a sudden we come away with 2 running backs in this rookie mock draft. But it's because we're drafting with people a part of the vlog. It's because they are pushing those players up. Expect James Cook to go earlier in your Dynasty rookie draft. Expect Dameon Pierce to go earlier in your Dynasty rookie draft. I still think you can get a value on guys like Wan'Dale Robinson, on David Bell, on John Mechie, Justin Ross a little bit later in your draft. Even at Jalen Tolbert, I don't think all these players will be going in the second round in the majority of your drafts. Okay. Fletch says his draft is tonight. I'm sorry. We're not going to be able to have the Dynasty Rookie Draft guide out by tonight. The editors they're probably going to be pissed if I even try to ask her that. Okay. So let's go through, see, Melton, Kyron Williams falling like a rock as well. Zamir White, Jalen Weidemeyer, Isaiah Likely, Greg DeLuce. I believe that's how they pronounced the name when he was drafted. Yeah, so he goes at the 401. That wasn't an auto pick. It showed it for a second. That was clearly set on a queue because he was down there in the ADP list. Carson Strong at the 402. Interesting. Trying to figure out where we are going to be going right now. Once you get to the 4th round, it's just so ugly. I will say, if you check out the historical hit rates for these players in the 4th, long shots from turning into anything. Chandler goes, I'm not going to say anything. Let me wait just 1 second. There's one player that I like. No, he already went at the 310. I was going to say Price is an intriguing name. He has the size, he has the speed as well, and he got the capital from the 49ers. And obviously, that's an offense that wants to run the ball over and over and over again. Elijah Mitchell is still the starting running back, but if we were to get him in the 4th, I think we would have been very excited. Okay, so now let's see if there are any players that were drafted in the NFL draft so far that have not been drafted in this league. I have not even heard of this player. It's like last year, if y'all remember, I mean, nobody was looking at Joshua Palmer. Nobody was looking really at Des Fitzpatrick. They end up being big surprise picks. Okay, Velus Jones ran a 4.31. That's the only reason he went that high. Zamir White goes to the 4.04. Do we end up going Kyren Williams? I would feel like a fraud yet again because we've been talking crap on Kyren Williams for God knows how long now. But keep in mind, when I'm talking crap on these players, I'm talking crap on Kyren Williams going up there at the end of the first, the beginning of the second round. When it's either Kyren Williams or Pierre Strong, if that's the point we get to, we can look at Kyren Williams and say, well, yes, we've covered his red flags at length. I have talked about why Kyren Williams will not work out in the NFL over and over and over again for God knows how long. But he does have some positives on his profile. If y'all remember, people liked him at the beginning of the offseason. The reason for that, he declared early he was a great pass-catching running back at Notre Dame as well. You were never expecting him to go in the top 100 picks in the NFL draft after his NFL combine. We'll go Kyren Williams, the 405. I hate doing it just because I do feel like a fraud whenever we have 3 running back picks in a row. But if I was drafting with people that weren't a part of the flock, I'm assuming we would actually be getting some wide receivers in these picks. Okay, so Zach says, are we doing any Underdog streams tonight? No, so Underdog is launching that $10 million prize pool contest for Best Ball Mania 3. I know, obviously, Best Ball Mania 2 was a massive hit where they gave away $3.5 million of prizes. We are going to be splitting our drafts with them between the tournament style where we're in that $10 million prize pool trying to get first place. And we are going to be also doing just those regular private drafts for people that don't care about being in the tournament, for people that just want to be in a regular 12-team league with all the money in the pot going with those people playing in that league. So we're going to be splitting it between the two, but they have paused all drafts until after the NFL draft. They're waiting until they launch their mega tournament on Monday. So no, trust me, I wish we could get an Underdog draft going. It's not going to be possible, though, just because they're not offering them. But if y'all want to get ready to draft with us on Underdog Fantasy, some real money fantasy football drafts, we're going to be doing over 200 of them this offseason. Please go to the description of the video, underdogfantasy.com. Use promo code FLOCK. You will get our Dynasty rookie rankings for free. If you go and deposit at least $10 on Underdog Fantasy, they will also match your deposit dollar for dollar up to $100. On top of this, they are going to give you our 2022 Dynasty rankings, all of which should be updated within the week. You'll have those rankings for about a month based on the setup that we have with them, and they'll consistently be updated for you. But please make sure you go use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy. Find the link in the description if you want to have access to all that. You'll also get our Dynasty research book, well over 100 pages with some rookie analysis as well. I'm just living life. I'm just loving this. Trust me, I wish we could get some drafts going. We'll have over 200 drafts this offseason. We've already done like 30 drafts this offseason on Underdog Fantasy. We're going to continue to hit those up on the live stream, not on this channel, but on the main channel. Okay, so Isaiah Likely gets auto-drafted at the 408. For the love of God, guys, if you're going to join this draft, please do not auto. I understand we're in the 4th round. I understand that these players don't have a lot of value. But every once in a while, once in a blue moon, you are going to get someone like Tyreek Hill in the 4th round. Very rarely does it happen. I think 9 times out of 10, if you're expecting anything from a player like Kyren Williams that we take at the 405, you need to check yourself. You need to understand that that player most likely is not going to do anything. But hell, still, it's worth taking those shots. It's worth drafting those players and throwing them on your taxi squad, because a lottery ticket that's free is better than no lottery ticket at all. Okay. So Grind for Gold says, are we doing another rookie draft? Yeah, we'll get another rookie draft going right now. Let me set this up because I want to kind of compare, because here you have Chris Olave going at the 111, but who knows? Maybe in the next draft, he ends up going at the 106. So let me grab a screenshot of this draft so I can track this, and then we will set up a new one. And please, as I set this up, if you have not done so already, go down there, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, only if you play Dynasty Fantasy Football. If you don't play Dynasty Fantasy Football, you're not going to enjoy what's on this channel. I'll tell you that much. But let me send this link out. Okay, just sent that over there on locals for everybody part of the Flock community. And yeah, when you use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy, or when you actually buy our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide on flockfantasy.com. If you take advantage of really any way to support this channel, you actually get to become part of the Flock for free over there on Locals. You'll get the promo, you'll get everything set up in your email. But oh crap. We almost missed out on claiming a spot in this. That would have been very bad. So we just sent that over there on Locals for anybody wanting to run and go grab it. I'm assuming that this gets filled in about 10 seconds. Okay, so let's go through and see. Trey's Live says, in my 6-man league, okay, first off, before I answer any question here, if you're playing in a 6-man league, you got to fix your league. Please, for the love of God, try to figure out a way to get more owners in. I would honestly just scrap the league and beg some people to come in to at least make it a 10-team league. But in a 6-man league, I got the 4th position in the draft. I traded up to get the 101. Breece Hall on the way, but I also have the 203 and the 206. Any players you think I'd be able to get and I shouldn't pass up. So I think this draft will help you because we are going to be drafting at the 109, which for your 203 in a 6-team league, that's the same thing. It is the 109 as well as the 112. So I would be looking at players in this range to have an idea of what options you should be going for. But keep in mind, in a 6-team league, I hate even talking about this because it's really nothing close to a 12-teamer in that the only thing, and I repeat, the only thing that matters is going to be chasing upside, upside, upside. Like the floor of a wide receiver doesn't matter in the slightest. Okay, now you have Drake London going at the 102, and please give me your opinion in the live chat. Give me your opinion in the comment section. I think this maybe just is a flock thing. I'm going to pause this because Zach's reminding us to change this to a linear draft. I think it maybe is just a flock setup that we have where maybe collectively we are all higher on Drake London than most people. Maybe I'm too excited once we actually got him as the first wide receiver off the board and we loved him going into the draft. But Drake London in the majority of my Dynasty rookie drafts and the majority of real money flock Dynasty leagues, Drake London's been the 102. But I'm assuming that's not going to be the case in your league. I am assuming, based on some comments that I've also read on Twitter with people trying to make the argument Treylon Burks is the 101, I'm assuming that you are going to get a lot of Treylon Burks to the 102. I think the most common start in a regular Dynasty startup draft, maybe I am reading the room incorrectly, and maybe I don't know what's going on, but I'm assuming it's going to be Breece Hall 1, Treylon Burks 2, Kenneth Walker 3, and then some order of Drake London and Garrett Wilson based on them having very bad landing spots. But like I've said, I mean, I'm willing to overlook those landing spots because how I view them as elite level prospects. Let me know if you think that most people are going to be taking Kenneth Walker or Treylon Burks there. Okay, so let me also go through and grab something for everyone. Okay, so Kenny Pickett goes to the 106. Okay, so back-to-back drafts, you have Kenny Pickett at the 106. In the majority of the drafts that I've had that are real money leagues, you actually are getting Kenny Pickett falling a little bit further than this. You're getting Chris Olave a lot at the 106. You're getting Jameson Williams sliding up as well. But now we are going to be in a spot where, I mean, we essentially are going to be going with one of the wide receivers that checks a ton of boxes that at the same time found himself in a fantastic landing spot. We're not thinking about a quarterback. We can't think about a running back with this pick. It is only the wide receiver position. And obviously, Jahan Dotson goes pick 16 to Washington. He has the draft capital. But as we've discussed, a wide receiver is not like running back, where if you get that round 1 capital, your hit rate just goes through the roof and it's very hard for you to bust. No, wide receiver, you can easily bust the position. And if we're talking about players as prospects, I had a very similar score on Jahan Dotson, Christian Watson, and Sky Moore. All 3 of those players. So if I get to take Christian Watson as the wide receiver 1 in Green Bay compared to Jahan Dotson as the wide receiver 2 with Carson Wentz throwing in the ball, I'm going to take Christian Watson here at the 109. I think that he is going to be in the same tier as Jahan Dotson and Sky Moore, and it is going to be up to you. But here you get Dotson going at the 110. I'm not going to be overreacting to the draft capital for a wide receiver in particular. Chris says, any chance you're doing another draft today? Okay, we have over 250 people in this live stream. If this live stream gets 150 likes, we'll go and we'll get another draft going after this. Please go down there, drop that like. And also, let me send a link out for our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. As I've said, y'all have supported this channel and y'all have grown the flock so damn much that I can't appreciate it enough. So please, If you want to support this channel and you're going to go get our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, well over 100 pages of too many charts, too many tables, you're not going to be able to handle it all. But if you want to go get our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, please make sure you use the promo code at checkout for a discount. You're getting a discount. Use NFL Draft as that promo. It's on flockfantasy.com. You can find the link in the description of the live stream, and you can also find it in the chat as well. Now, George Pickens goes to the 112, Sky Moore at the 111. Honestly, this is how I expect round one. I want to see just blue, 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 blue. You need to see these wide receivers. This is a wide receiver draft. Don't slide up James Cook. Don't slide up Malik Willis. Do not be making those players round one selections when there are wide receivers that check damn near every single box on the board. Matt Corral goes to the 201 here as well. He went at the 112 in the last draft, and I called it one of the worst picks in the draft. Am I missing something with Matt Corral? Keep in mind, I had Matt Corral as the quarterback one at the beginning of the offseason because my quarterback process is very simple. We laid this out in our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, and we prove. What I love about our Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide is I've gone through and I've tracked DLF, Dynasty League Football, ADP since 2014 to identify every rookie drafted in Dynasty Rookie Drafts, over 100 running backs, over 100 wide receivers, a bunch of quarterbacks, a bunch of tight ends. We've tracked all those players. Then on the back end, I've gone through and I've filled out all their prospect profiles. You have no idea how long this has taken me. But then we ran it through our model. So I was able to prove to you that our prospect model works. And at quarterback, we had a significantly better hit rate than regular Dynasty League ADP. And the only thing that we cared about was NFL draft capital and rushing upside. That was it. And while Matt Corral goes to a team that clearly does not have anybody on that roster to really threaten him. I mean, you have the Carolina Panthers as one of the worst quarterback rooms in the NFL. He was picked 94. Historically speaking, those quarterbacks have a very small chance to ever start at the NFL level. And when they do start, they are on the shortest leash imaginable. They literally, quarterbacks that go at the end of round one are on a short leash. If Matt Corral starts and he looks okay through 8 games, he won't be the starter next year. You have to come in and you have to be Russell Wilson your rookie season. You have to be Dak Prescott his rookie season. You have to light the world on fire if you're going to be that late NFL draft pick and be able to have the longevity at the quarterback position here. So maybe I'm a wet blanket. I know I'm always the wet blanket on the situation. But with Matt Corral falling that far, I'm just not interested. I'm not interested in taking him here at the 201. I prefer James Cook. I would even prefer Malik Willis, even though obviously you have Tannehill there. The difference with Willis is we know if Malik Willis starts, you can put him in your starting lineup in fantasy based on the rushing upside. You don't know that with Matt Corral. Even if Matt Corral somehow eventually works his way into being the starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers, he'll be on an incredibly short leash. And on top of that, we don't even know if we'll be able to start him in fantasy. Rachaad White goes to the 208. Rachaad White would have been a player that I was interested in. I know most people here are probably going to prefer us to go with Alec Pierce. I am not going to do that. However, we are going to go with the player that went from being way too overvalued at the beginning of the offseason to then my favorite draft target before the draft because he was going in the 3rd round. He's probably not going to be going in the 3rd round much longer. We're going to go Wan'Dale Robinson. Now, I have to address something. Let's pull this up. With Wan'Dale Robinson, there is a massive red flag. I don't even think this is accurate here. We're going to have to go to a different website. I believe he weighs 178 pounds. But let me go through and confirm this with Wan'Dale Robinson before we talk any further on it. But with Robinson, he does check so many boxes. He is a dynamic athlete. He is a dynamic playmaker overall. If you go back to his freshman year at Nebraska, freshman year at the Big Ten, he averaged over 34 rushing yards per game. He had, I believe, over 40 receiving yards per game as well. Keep in mind, this is all off the top of my head, so please forgive me if I'm wrong by 1 or 2 yards, but I don't think I am. And here, what we were worried about is him just being classified as a gadget player when he goes to the NFL level. What you needed to see with Wan'Dale Robinson is you needed to see him display dominance purely as a receiver. And that is exactly what happened. He went over to Kentucky in the SEC, and he accounted for over 45, I think actually 43 or 44. It doesn't really matter. He was in the 40s with his dominator rating, his receiving yards on a per game basis in that offense. They stopped using him to rush the ball. He gets the NFL draft capital now. Now, I apologize. He's not 178 pounds. He's 179. And I understand. Trust me, I get it. Rondale Moore just burned a ton of people, right? Rondale Moore just showed us that if you're an outlier with your size, it's hard to work out at the NFL level. It's hard to consistently command volume and play a decent amount of snaps. What I will say with this is, A, we're not even entirely sure Rondale Moore has completely busted. B, Rondale Moore is 5'7", Wan'Dale Robinson 5'8". Okay, so a slight upgrade with his size. And C, and this is the most important part, Rondale Moore in a much better draft class was a late first round pick. Here we're taking Wan'Dale Robinson in the late second round. So when he checks all these boxes, I'm willing to acknowledge that he has the massive red flag with his size, but every player in this range has a massive red flag. Justin Ross didn't get the draft capital. Justin Ross, we don't know what the injury really looks like. Isaiah Spiller, a day 3 pick. We've already talked about the concerns at length with his size and athleticism. Alec Pierce was never half as dominant as Wan'Dale Robinson was in college. Rashad White, undersized. Trey McBride, he's a tight end, okay? I think we can leave it there. David Bell, y'all know I like me some David Bell now, especially that he goes top 100 to Deshaun Watson in the Cleveland Browns. But nonetheless, with David Bell, he's a little slow. With John Mechie, this is a wide receiver that never had the production at Alabama, but keep in mind, I like David Bell. I like John Mechie because we can look at the positives of their profile. We can look at the fact that John Mechie played with those top-end wide receivers at Alabama and never really had a shot to be a dominant producer. And we can look at the NFL draft capital he gets, saying, okay, maybe the film community knows how to accurately evaluate John Mechie. Maybe our prospect model is not going to work here. And that would be completely understandable based on him playing with Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, and Jameson Williams. He played with all those wide receivers at some point of his career at Alabama. So my point is, Wan'Dale Robinson, I think his red flag is legitimate, but the pros of his profile, like what his strengths are stronger than pretty much any other player in this range. So I'm going to be fine taking Wan'Dale Robinson. Okay, so Sleeper Mark is coming out with a donation, says, check Discord DM screenshot from Mark. I got you. I mean, I think we can actually, with our new streaming setup, I can pull up stuff at the same time. Okay, very tough, rough top 25 after last night. That could be pushed into Sleeper immediately after the draft, but we'll be making drastic. Okay, so interesting. Okay, so we got sent a top 25 list here. We can go over this after I make the selection here. But I do want to fire in. Okay, Jalen Tolbert, obviously, that would have been a dream making it to us at the 309, but does not happen. I guess we're probably just going to end up having to take some bum running backs. I mean, we're at the 309. What else can you expect? Okay, Zamir White goes right before us. We're going to take Dameon Pierce. I'm not a massive fan of Dameon Pierce. I mean, this is a running back that never really had a full workload at Florida, which doesn't matter nearly as much as the boxes that we are looking for. He does check some of them. He doesn't check all of them. We are going to go Dameon Pierce at 309. I think he was overvalued before the NFL draft, but now that you're seeing what the NFL community actually thinks about him, I mean, his price coming down to the 3rd round behind all the wide receivers that we've always been advocating for, I think that is fine. We would have gone with Price if Price made it to us over Dameon Pierce. I think Price is slightly intriguing despite the fact that I had never heard his name before last night. Okay, but let me check this out from Marky. So he is going through and combining ADP list, and you got Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker, Garrett Wilson, Drake London, Kenny Pickett, Treylon Burks, Chris Olave, Jameson Williams, James Cook. Where the hell? Where's this ADP list from? This ADP list, in my opinion, looks suspect, okay? Because maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I just don't know how to gauge the Dynasty community. But as I've already said, I'm valuing Drake London over Treylon Burks. But here to see Treylon Burks going after Kenny Pickett, Drake London, Garrett Wilson by a wide margin, and Kenneth Walker by a wide margin when some people are talking about taking him at the 101. Interesting. Okay, Ryle says, I could see Pierce going undrafted after today. Oh, that's definitely in the range of outcomes. It's 100% in the range of outcomes. I know Thornton, obviously, a day, like, if we're talking about Thornton, some good examples of wide receivers that look similar. If we're going over to players that were drafted in round 2 last year, you have players like Dwayne Eskridge. I mean, you have someone like Tutu Atwell. Those are other wide receivers that got pushed up to round 2 of the NFL draft because their elite speed and how they could potentially stretch the offense for the Los Angeles Rams, for the Seattle Seahawks. However, with Tutu Atwell, obviously he had the size. Tutu Atwell weighed like 155 pounds. But with Dwayne Eskridge, like, he was way more productive at Western Michigan than you had with Thornton. Like, I think Dwayne Eskridge is a much better player than what Thornton is. I'm just going to continue. I'll take shots on these running backs over Thornton. I don't really like any of the players in this range. And it looks like we got over 150 likes. Of course, thank you all so much for dropping likes in the live stream. Looks like it's going to be an hour-long live stream. We'll get another draft going after this one. JDS says, 1 quarterback, 10 team, Swift for the 101 and the 107. Which side wins? Okay, so you're trading DeAndre Swift for Breece Hall. And if we look at the 107 in a 1 quarterback format, that's going to be your choice essentially of Jameson Williams, Christian Watson, Jahan Dotson, Sky Moore, and George Pickens. Coming from someone who loves DeAndre Swift, I'm taking Breece Hall and Christian Watson over him. I think that we're making that pick pretty easily. Okay. Olson says, where does David Bell move if the Ravens draft him today? Oh, that would be a sight to see. If the Ravens went out of their way and they drafted David Bell, they would probably have to pause the entire NFL draft, shut it down, figure out where the glitch in the system was, figure out how they can fix that. If he got to play for both the Browns and the Ravens, and he got to play like 34 games in a season, his points per game number wouldn't be any better. But if we're talking about raw totals, David Bell would be literally a cheat code. I think so, right? Yeah. They play in the division, so there'd be 4 games that he'd be missing out on total. So instead of playing 34 games, he'd play 30 games. No, actually, he would be missing out on 2 games. I apologize. Bad math. He'd be playing 32 games. Yeah, no, David Bell, if he's playing 32 games and we get to use that as a total, he probably goes to the 101. I could be wrong, though. I don't exactly know how that works. Okay, but all jokes aside, let's gear up for the 409. Let's take a player that's never going to be anything. Let's take a player that is the ultimate long shot. I believe we're just probably going tight end. Yeah, Tyler Batty goes at the 407. Calvin Austin at the 408. Who do we want here? Let's go Weidemeyer. I prefer Jalen Weidemeyer. I mean, this is a player that continuously falling in the NFL draft, and draft capital matters for tight end as it does at running back and receiver as well. But I like the profile. It is what it is. 409, we're just talking long shots. Okay. I honestly don't think anybody needs to see the 411, the 412, and the 410. So what I'm going to do is take a screenshot here and get us set up for our next draft. This is also going to be posted over there on Locals. And we are going to have to run through this about as fast as possible. And I'm giving myself the 101 here, okay? I mean, this is our 3rd draft. I don't think ever given ourselves the 101 in a Dynasty rookie mock draft just because your boy doesn't draft at the 101. Okay, but let's go through and let's grab this link. And if you enjoy this content, for the love of God, support this channel. Go use promo code FLOCK on Underdog Fantasy to prepare to get in some drafts with us. Go buy our Dynasty research book on flockfantasy.com. Use promo code NFL Draft to get that discount. But let's post this right now. Okay. So that is posted. I'm sure that this is going to fill in about 5 seconds. David says, just traded Travis Etienne for Terry McLaurin. I hate that. I think that is a very, very bad trade. I easily prefer Travis Etienne over Terry McLaurin at this point. I mean, especially when they go out of their way, they add Jahan Dotson in the middle of round 1. Yeah, give me Travis Etienne. Travis Etienne checks damn near every single box. The only box he doesn't check is he stayed all 4 years at Clemson, but that's going to be something that I can overlook just slightly. Okay, so looks like we are filled up. Let's start this draft, and listen to me and listen to me closely. If you are at the 101, it doesn't matter if you are in a 1 quarterback league. It doesn't matter if you are in a 2 quarterback league. You have one option and one option alone. You're taking Breece Hall here. Please don't be talking about Treylon Burks. Please don't be talking about Drake London. London goes to the 102 yet again in this draft. We're going Breece Hall. Okay, so Vinny says, avoid pairing Pitts and London, question mark. If so, what wide receiver do you take at the 102? No, I do not build that way at all. If I have Kyle Pitts, I mean, if you're taking Drake London, you're essentially making a constellated bet on the Atlanta Falcons offense. I would be fine just making that one bet saying, hell, the Atlanta Falcons are going to have more passing volume. They're going to be more efficient than most people are projecting this upcoming season. Take them both. Like, it's not like Drake London working out makes it a lower probability that Kyle Pitts does. It's not like Kyle Pitts hitting makes it a lower probability that Drake London does. Please just go ahead and draft Drake London if that's the guy you want. DG says, what do I do with Carter when I have the 101? You're not going to be able to sell Carter. If you can sell Carter for anything, should have sold him before the NFL draft. But if you can sell him for a late first, you can sell him for an early second, and you do that ASAP. And if you can't, it looks like you are just going to have both Michael Carter as well as Breece Hall on the same roster. You can't deviate from drafting Breece Hall just because you have Michael Carter Jr. Vinny says, thank you. No, thank you so much for being a part of the flock and supporting the channel, my man. I genuinely do appreciate all of y'all out in the live stream. You have no idea how much y'all have been supporting the channel. I truly, truly appreciate it. I'm excited to gear up for this summer. I'm excited. We got a lot of stuff to dive into. We are going to be drafting a bazillion teams on Underdog. I think we got exciting stuff coming. Okay, so Chris Olave falling yet again in this draft. Chris Olave making it to the 110, the 111. Let's see what the next pick is. I'm fine. If you want to go Sky Moore, if you want to go Christian Watson over Olave, I personally can't do it. I can't do it. I can't even really think about doing it, but I can understand why someone else would have that thought process. I can understand why someone else would take Sky Moore, Christian Watson, Kenny Pickett, Jameson Williams over Chris Olave. Now, I will say, in one of our real money, did we just get Jahan Dotson at the 201? Please don't be drafting Malik Willis over Jahan Dotson. Please don't do that. Please, 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 please. But in one of our real money Dynasty rookie drafts that started last night, Sky Moore went at the 103. That's the kind of hype you were getting with that landing spot with the Kansas City Chiefs. He will be the X wide receiver, Juju playing in the slot. You'll have Marquez Valdes-Scantling stretching the field, which he did a great job of in Green Bay, despite him not popping up on the box score. Still, he makes the offense more efficient overall. Travis Kelce will still command the most volume, but even if Travis Kelce gets 25% of this team's target share, you still have a ton of production to go around. James Cook at the 202, completely fine with James Cook here. Like I said, I think James Cook's a player that you need to be avoiding when he's going in round one. I thought more people would be excited to push James Cook up into round one than I guess we're actually seeing. Maybe it's because we're drafting people part of the flock. Maybe in your actual league, you are going to get some fish taking James Cook over someone like Chris Olave, over George Pickens, over Jahan Dotson. Desmond Ridder goes at the 203. I think probably after that 202 pick, you do have that tier drop off where you can almost go wherever you want. David Bell at the 204. Papa says, bruv, I have a Michael Carter in my Dynasty League. What do you think will happen with him now that Hall is there? Let me be very clear with this. Breece Hall is the 3-down running back. Michael Carter Jr. is a good running back. Breece Hall is a great one. I think that you will end up with 70 to 75% of the snaps and the touches going to Breece Hall. I've heard some people saying Breece Hall is going to be the first and second down running back, where you're going to have Michael Carter Jr. as the third down guy. That is not going to be the case. Breece Hall is arguably a better pass-catching running back than Michael Carter Jr. Arguably a better pass catcher. He had a higher team college target share. Now, yes, you had Javonte Williams at UNC, so that's a little bit tongue-in-cheek. You can't derive everything based off that college target share with Michael Carter Jr. We can say that he's a very good pass-catching running back. But at the end of the day, he was a fourth-round NFL draft pick. He didn't have the team investment. This team went out of their way. They've invested a decent amount into Breece Hall. They put their eggs in that basket. They want Breece Hall to succeed. He's the better running back overall by pretty much every measure you could look at. He's big enough. I mean, he averaged over 25 carries a game at Iowa State in 2020. Breece Hall is the 3-down running back. Michael Carter Jr. is like Tony Pollard. Like, I mean, I don't want to say he's like 2021 Tony Pollard, where Tony Pollard had a decent-sized role in that offense. Maybe that's how they start the year, but eventually I think Michael Carter Jr. turns into 2020 Tony Pollard, where he is a fantastic running back, and if Breece Hall were to go down in front of him, then all of a sudden Michael Carter Jr. would have a very high ceiling. But the issue is we just don't know if you're ever even going to see it. Okay. Alec Pierce goes to the 211, John Mechie at the 210. I would really like to see those players falling to us. Jalen Tolbert at the 206. Interesting. Okay. So let's scroll through, try to figure out where we're going to be going with the 301. You know what? I haven't had a chance to put it into our prospect model. I think Brian Robinson probably is a higher score in our prospect model now than what you have with Isaiah Spiller. I am unsure if we can go ahead and draft Brian Robinson over Isaiah Spiller, just because we know Brian Robinson drafted to be a backup running back there in Washington. With Isaiah Spiller, you still have the outside chance that he finds himself into a starting role. Okay. And Brian Robinson, I mean, he did go outside the top 100 picks in the NFL draft. It's not like, I mean, maybe he was exactly pick 100, but it's not like the draft capital is massive. Justin Ross is still available, but Justin Ross falls to day 3 as well. We'll go Isaiah Spiller. Yet again, I'm going to look like a fraud for drafting a running back in the later rounds when we've been saying not to. But hell, he was going in round 1 before the NFL draft, okay? And I will say, this fall is 100% warranted. I am not thinking Isaiah Spiller is some fantastic value here at the 301. But what I am worried about, and what we've already said with Justin Ross in particular, Justin Ross, y'all know, a wide receiver I love. I mean, I can talk about Justin Ross all day. Justin Ross, this is a option that had 71 receiving yards on a per-game basis at Clemson at 18 years old, his true freshman season. Keep in mind this off the top of my head, so I could be a little bit wrong here. Hunter Renfrow, that same year, as a senior at Clemson, had 36 receiving yards per game. T. Higgins, as a sophomore, had less receiving yards per game than Justin Ross at 18. And this is the same year, same offense. Amari Rodgers, a player that went in the 3rd round of the Green Bay Packers last year, was on that team as a sophomore as well. And Justin Ross outproduced him. Justin Ross has an elite level ceiling. The issue is the neck injury. And as I've always said, I am not a doctor. Even if I was smart enough to be a doctor, I wouldn't have been in the room evaluating Justin Ross as NFL medical staffs were able to. So what I'm worried about is Justin Ross just simply isn't fully recovered. He's never going to be fully recovered. The initial reports with that neck injury were that he was never going to play football again. So with him falling to day 3 of the NFL draft, he went from a player that I love with a ton of upside to now I'm just very worried because of the injury. And I think that NFL teams probably know something that we don't. So Justin Ross won't be as appealing at the 303. Okay. So now let's go through and Ben says Michael Carter is so good that the Jets watched him as their running back 1 for a season and then tried to trade into the first for Breece Hall. Hall will dominate the backfield. Couldn't have said it better. Like, I know everybody thinks, including myself, I know I come out here acting like I'm some genius, and I say it all the time. I'm an idiot. You shouldn't listen to me. But everybody wants to act like they're some expert when it comes to a player like Michael Carter Jr. being very talented, a player like Malik Willis being very talented, despite what NFL teams, NFL front offices that are closer to these players than we could ever dream of, them telling us. When we see the Atlanta Falcons, when we see the Seattle Seahawks, we see the Carolina Panthers pass on Malik Willis over and over and over and over and over again. Our thesis with Malik Willis, where I had him ranked as over 102 beforehand, it has to change. I can't ignore that. And the same thing, if you thought Michael Carter Jr. was some fantastic running back and was going to be the starting running back for the New York Jets, I'll tell you this. The Jets coaching staff have a much better idea of who Michael Carter Jr. is than you do, than I do. They see the man every day. And their actions told us, hell, let's go get Breece Hall. Let's go get a new starting running back. Jonas says, excited to see your rankings post-draft. Going to try to get those updated as soon as possible. It would definitely be updated by the time we send out that a Dynasty rookie draft guide, which, as I've said, I know with everybody who pre-ordered it, I said it was going to come out May 5th. I'm going to grind that away to get it out early for y'all. I'm going to grind it away to get it out May 2nd, May 3rd. Just depends on when. I'll probably have it finished and all updated and polished today with those landing spots. It depends how long it takes the editor to get through it, which I'm going to push her. I'll try to get it done. I'll try to get her to edit that by the time we get to the 1st or the 2nd. Okay, so Carson Strong at the 312. You got E-Money coming out, 3 quarterbacks in a row. We are in the 4th here. F it. Let's go with the tight end that ended up getting drafted. I mean, with these tight ends here. Let me look up Delucci. I know this is a player that was trending in a positive direction. I mean, up until the draft. Clearly, he got the draft capital a lot of people were projecting. Okay, so yeah, he was very productive at UCL. He only weighs 243 pounds, which I don't love to see. He did break out his junior season. He did stay all 4 years, which isn't as big of a deal at tight end as it is at other positions. He ran a 4.70, more than fast enough for a tight end. He looks average. He goes to the Denver Broncos. Obviously, everybody loves Albert O, but the most receiving yards on a per game basis Albert O's ever had, I believe, is like 14. It's not like Albert O is some locked and loaded top end talent. It's not like Albert O's Dallas Goedert or anything that he's not going to be able to overcome him. So we will take him at the 401. Drowsy says, not saying Wan'Dale Robinson is Debo, but I can see him playing a somewhat similar role. I love Wan'Dale Robinson, and I can say right now that he is not going to be able to handle the same role as Deebo Samuel. Trust me, I love him. I'm going to be drafting him very often because the expectation isn't for him to turn into Deebo Samuel if you're going to be getting him at the end of the 2nd round, as we did in the last mock draft. The reason for this is he's 5'8", 179. For him to be able to consistently handle that workload at the NFL level, it's going to take a much bigger frame. Deebo Samuel is 214 pounds. Deebo Samuel, I mean, weighs what? Is that 36? No, I'm sorry, 35 pounds heavier. Exactly 35 pounds heavier than Wan'Dale Robinson, which is why I don't think you can assume that he will ever turn into Deebo Samuel. Very, very, very few players look like Deebo. Also, you need a coaching staff to know how to use him. I'll agree he has upside, and I definitely think he's worth the pick at the end of the 2nd, just because he was used as that hybrid player and he had a lot of rushing attempts in college. However, I don't think you can comp him to Deebo. David coming out with a donation. Thank you, my man. Says, been watching you since last year. Appreciate all your hard work. I have the 102 and the 103 this year. Apparently the 101 guy might take Treylon Burks or Drake London over Breece Hall. Would be sweet if I get Hall at the 102. Oh my God, man. That would be a dream. And that's what I said. I've heard some people talking about taking Treylon Burks at the 101. Man, I don't know what you have to do to convince that guy to go ahead and take Treylon Burks. Maybe you should. No, if you shoot him a DM, maybe it's going to mess things up. Wishing the best of luck for you, my man. And want to give everybody a part of this live stream, a part of the flock, just a massive thank you. I truly do appreciate all of y'all. I hope you had a great NFL draft. Please don't overreact to any players being drafted today. I mean, anybody being drafted today has such a small chance of actually hitting at the next level. I'm probably not even going to be watching the draft. We're going to be honest. I'm going to be working on that Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide. If you want to get that Dynasty Rookie Draft Guide, go to flockfantasy.com. Use promo code NFL Draft if you want that discount. I do really appreciate all of y'all, and I do really hope you have a great day.